Hello, Todd Shank from Premier FPL here with the Game Week 24 tips. At the moment, the FA Cup is going on for this weekend, which means that matches for this coming week for Game Week 24 are going to be midweek, starting Tuesday. So the deadline here, as you can see, is the 29th. So make sure that you have your team set before that comes out. So as you can see here, 29th, so 6:45 would be the cutoff there. Yeah, so just make sure that you're prepared for that. All right, so starting out, I do have the Game Week 24 through 28 FPL fixtures ranking here, and some excuse me, some interesting things to take a look at as far as teams go. Fulham is up here fairly high. That's primarily because of the Brighton and Crystal Palace Southampton matches here. Now, take it for what you will. It's difficult to say if you want to really target anybody from Fulham. Mitrovic, maybe, Shirla. I don't know that there's really a whole lot else to look at from them. Southampton, though, I think that there are some good picks from Southampton. Ings, I still think that Redmond is a decent pick for midfield. Only 1.7% ownership. They're both getting, I guess, consistent points. Nothing, crazy out of control, but just a team to keep an eye on to see how they keep going. If you want to take a punt on them, not a bad choice considering who they have coming up in their most recent fixtures here. United, they're one of the teams you might want to look at a triple up. I know a lot of fantasy managers are going with Pogba and Rashford. Might want to throw Martial in there, or even Lukaku. The issue with Lukaku is just that he's just not scoring goals. So that's a tough one. Now, the one team that I'm really looking at targeting with a double or even triple up here is Wolverhampton. Sorry. Kind of losing my voice today, so apologize. But yeah, Wolverhampton. So I guess the three to four players to look at would be Jimenez. Doherty is in a lot of teams already, but you could go with even Bali in the back. Jota in midfield as well as Moutinho are decent picks to look at picking up. So yeah, it depends on whether you want to go with two or three with them. I'm avoiding Patricio. I still have him in my own team. As you can see here, but he's basically been riding the bench for me mostly because he's only picking up 2-3 points, allowing too many goals for me and not getting quite enough saves. I would rather have Fabianski, who is at least still picking up saves, and when he gets a clean sheet is really racking up the points. He's averaging basically, he's able to pick up the 2 points pretty consistently. Another one to look at, kind of looking at double ups for Liverpool. Even with City, not a bad team. Liverpool, you just have Mane or Salah, or even Firmino and Salah. You could go with all three. Even looking at Robertson and Van Dijk in the back as kind of a double up along with Salah, but definitely recommending that everybody pick Salah. I'm of the mind that if you don't have him, you're losing points. So somebody to really consider hanging on to. Yeah, so this is kind of the breakdown of some of the teams to look at targeting. Before I move on to discussing some of the double game weeks and blanks coming up, just wanted to take a look at a couple of things statistically here. One thing that I do like to look at is value by form. Etheridge is an interesting one in terms of a fairly low cost goalkeeper that's going to get you pretty consistent points. as you can see here, he's picking up, double-digit points several times in the last 5 game weeks. So not a bad one to stick in there, especially with their fixtures coming up here. Now, Cardiff isn't really, not a great team, but in some of these fixtures, if they're able to he's able to pick up a number of saves, get a clean sheet in there, great chance to pick up some points. For goalkeeper, it's only 4.6. I'm mainly pointing this out as something for you to take a look at if you're looking for players. Most of the time, these are going to be lower cost players that are doing fairly decent in recent matches. Now, with that, you always want to keep in mind, what are their fixtures coming up? What are they doing? And McNeil is an interesting one at only 4.4 for midfield. Shar here as a defender for Newcastle at 4.6, or even Losel as a goalkeeper from Huddersfield. So, which then brings us on to Huddersfield, who they're a curious one in that they have a new manager, comes from Dortmund, from at least from their system, and it could be interesting to see how they work if they do try to go more attacking, which could benefit players like Steve Mounier. Billing is currently injured, but I feel like he should be back in time. But he's a low cost 4.5 midfielder that is getting game time. So then you still have Schindler and Zonka in defense there. It'll just be interesting to see how they do with a new manager, if they are able to really turn things around for their season. The tough part is that, they have Everton at home, which could go, you never know how that's going to go with the way Everton's been playing. But then they do have Chelsea and Arsenal. With Arsenal, their away form recently has been pretty bad. 3 losses and 2 draws in their last 5. Allowed 22 goals, but also scored 22 goals in that time. So that's an interesting one to target for Huddersfield, to start bringing in a Huddersfield player sometime here around game week 26. And then they do have this nice run of fixtures coming up from game weeks 27 through 33. So just one to keep in mind, especially considering their price point here. 5.8 forward is not bad for somebody who is he's going to be playing. I should say most likely will be playing. He's the best pick that they have as far as forwards go anyway. All right, so that brings us on to I guess the big talking point for this week, with the FA Cup in play, the League Cup having taken place midweek. We already know that game week 27 is going to be a blank for, let's actually pull up the fixtures here. Game week 27 they don't have it updated yet, but it's going to be a blank for the Everton City match as well as the Chelsea Brighton match. Now, where that's going to fall as far as a double game week, we're not quite sure yet. But if anybody listens to Fantasy Football Scout, you heard them talking about Ben Krellin from Twitter that has this nice double game week, blank game week spreadsheet out here. So he has it broken down here, confirmed single game weeks. So definitely in game week 27, anybody in green is going to be playing. But we do have, Chelsea, Brighton, City, and Everton that are out for game week 27. The other blank game week possibilities are 31 and 33. Teams in green are definitely going to be playing, but everybody in red is a possible blank game week for that time period. At the same time, game week 32 and 35 are possible double game weeks for nearly everybody. Now, with this weekend coming, all of the FA Cups matches this weekend, we'll have a better idea of who will have the blank game weeks coming up for those weeks. So we do know now, Arsenal is definitely going to be playing here game week 30. Well, I should say most likely will be playing here, depending on how things go against I guess whoever it is they're playing that game week, you can probably take a look here against Southampton. So I forget if Southampton's playing or not, but either way, we know that United will have a blank game week for 31. So yeah, I think this is a really handy tool to use. So as you can see, got a lot going on here. Here are all of the contents, some of the percentages for possibilities for blank game weeks coming up. So it's going to be interesting to see where all of that falls into place, and who is going to have double game weeks and when they're going to have those double game weeks coming up. Now, looking at we're at fixture. So looking at this game week 27, we do have City. We have 24, 25, 26. So 3 game weeks in between there to decide what to do with the City players. But you definitely want to have a plan for, City, Everton, Chelsea players. If you have any Brighton players as well. But like guys like Sterling, Sane, Aguero. If you have any of them, then you want to make sure that you have a plan for how you're going to deal with that blank game week. It could be as simple as gradually transferring some of them out, or saving a double transfer so that you can get 2 of them out for that game week and then bring 1 back the next game week, something like that. Same thing, Hazard, you want to have something prepared for him. If you have Willian or anybody else, David Luiz, any of those guys, you want to just be careful that you don't, make sure that you have a plan, even if it is keep it carrying them, but having somebody from your bench that you feel is going to pick up the slack. A couple other details I want to throw in here. Taking a look at my last game week, it wasn't terrible, wasn't great either, but just kind of looking at some of the dead weight here. And I do have some ideas. One of the goals that I had for the season was to go the season without taking any hits. So I'm really trying to stick with that. I'm very tempted to take at least a -4 for this week, even though -8. I do have some plans for who I want to bring in, who I want to drop. But definitely looking to drop Richarlison here. Felipe Anderson, both of them have just been dead weight recently. Luka Dean, I'm not sure yet what to do with him. He's just so hit or miss, so hot and cold, especially recently. No consistency, no form with him. So, and you have to add in that they really only have, a couple of decent game weeks coming up. Huddersfield, even the Wolves match, that could go either way for a defender like Dean. Watford is probably a good one, but then I have City, Liverpool, Chelsea, all of these kind of sporadically thrown in here. Richarlison is one I definitely want to drop. Looking at some of his other underlying statistics, he takes a lot of shots but gets very few of them on goal and is just not scoring enough of them. And Felipe Anderson recently has really dropped off quite a bit. I'm kind of worried about him. First time in the league, it could be that all of those matches are starting to get to him. The other one here is Aboubakar Kamara, who has been in the news recently. I believe I saw that he was arrested, or suspicion that he was arrested for attacking somebody at the club, and it sounds like he's basically going to be dropped. So unless I got the name wrong, I believe that that's who it is. So got to keep an eye out for that to see if he's actually going to be playing at all for Fulham. So I have some plans. It's just a matter of whether I want to go back on my goal and actually take a hit, or if I'm going to move forward. I do have the 1 free transfer. Will most likely, it's a toss-up between Felipe Anderson, who, they have Wolves, and then they have Liverpool. So a lot of their great fixtures have run out. They have some other decent fixtures spread in here, but he's not been doing well even during this period of time where they had decent fixtures against Bournemouth, Brighton, Burnley. Only pulled off 6 points between the 3 matches, and that's not good enough for a player that's 7.3. That's way too much for me to want to carry him. So could possibly make a move with him first, thinking about bringing in either Diogo Jota or Sane for midfield there. Kind of a toss-up there. Sane would give me that City coverage, and I still think he's going to keep playing even if Mendy does come back. All right, well, I think that about covers everything that I wanted to cover for this week. And again, you can check out the Game Week 24 through 28 ranking that I put out. And I also put out a video earlier this week on some of the statistics that you can look at. These are all underlying statistics to take a look at to help you rank up your team, along with some of the websites out there that offer some of those statistics to help you in your help you make quality picks and make sure that you're picking guys that are actually going to help you out. I definitely don't want you to take my word for anything. Do your research. I'm here to give you some tips, but I want you to make sure that you're doing your own research on things, mainly because that's how I have found the most success for myself. There have been plenty of times where I'll listen to a podcast and then make a move that they recommended, and it turns out it backfires on me, and the move that I was considering doing would have worked out better. So that's one of my main goals for this season, has been to rely on what I think is going to be the best for my team and sticking with my gut and not going with what other people think. All right, so again, really love to get subscriptions. That definitely helps out the channel more than anything else right now. Give a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any tips down below as well. Definitely want, if you have any tips, definitely share them with everybody else. Would really love it to get, your ideas out there as well. Anyway, wish you good luck and have fun.